enough energy. Need more time.
Hello and welcome to this Diablo 4 Rogue build guide. This character is the Flurry Rogue, which is aimed for hardcore characters because it has a very high life leech ability, so your health bar mostly stays above 80% even when you're facing those tough elites. Now we're going to cover three main topics today, which are the skills you want to put your attribute points into, the Paragon board and what I'm doing for that, and then also gear and what sort of aspects / affixes you want to roll for. I'd really like to emphasize that this is a good enough build to get yourself through the campaign and start pushing the higher tiered worlds. I've encountered no issues going through the game and reaching world tier 3, and I'm not encountering very many bad encounters while I'm going through dungeons in world tier 3. Once I hit level 70, I'll do the next capstone and continue working on this character. It is hardcore. I've never had a death elixir procs or anything like that. It's really solid. It's also very easy to play. It's sort of a sit back and chill kind of build. A lot of the rogue builds I've seen, you have to use your abilities in a very specific way with lots of actions per minute. And personally, that's not exactly what I want to do when I play a game like Diablo. I like the more chill builds. And so this does a lot of damage, keep you alive, and it's not that hard to play. Now, the first thing that you want to do is put in 5 points to puncture. As you level, I would suggest getting these basic skills leveled up first, but you also want to also have your maneuverability skills. However, on tier world 1, you're not going to encounter as many things that hold you in place, so it's not such a big deal until you go to those higher tiered worlds. So I'm going to go ahead and max out the puncture. Then you want this so that you throw... Well, I guess you gain 2 energy, but you don't ever really crowd control people. So this is kind of just to get to the last objective, which is you throw 3 blades, and when 2 of the blades hit, you inflict vulnerability. This whole build is going to be based around vulnerability, as it is probably the most important thing that you can do as a character to increase your damage. Once we go down to this skill set, we're going to go ahead and spec into Flurry. At first, this shoots in one direction with some knives or whatever. And the best thing about this is that you can just sort of spam it. And the enhanced Flurry is really what enables you to stay alive really well. After that, you're going to go ahead and do this so that whenever your Flurry hits when someone's already vulnerable, it spreads the vulnerability to all other enemies hit. This is super valuable because basically what it does, it turns your core ability into an area of effect attack that heals you and also dazes your opponents because of some of the aspects we're going to be using. So you're going to be hitting with your basic attack, maybe like once or twice to get the vulnerability. Then you attack that monster with your Flurry, which then spreads the vulnerability to all other monsters around you. There's an aspect that changes your one-directional attack into an area of effect, and it's actually quite big. So you're healing, doing vulnerability damage all at once, and dazing your opponents. So once you get down to like 1 or 2 elites, you can just keep them stun locked indefinitely. It's incredible. You're going to want to put points into Sturdy. This was actually one of the last things that I maxed out because in world tier 1 and 2, you don't need so much damage reduction, but it's definitely going to help out once you get to a higher level. This is a siphoning strike, which allows you to take in even more life when you attack enemies. This is really great because you're always going to want to max out your critical strike anyways. So yeah, 3% for an attack, it's pretty big. Now, the next skill that you're going to unlock is Shadow Step. Now, the reason that I've only put 1 point into this skill is because this is only about becoming unstoppable in the higher world tiers. This is your get out of jail button to just sort of teleport across the map. The one thing that this is limited by is the fact that you have to use it on a monster. So it's not like a dash where you can go in any direction. However, I find it better than a dash because I can choose what direction I'm going, and it's not a set amount of distance that I'm traveling. And it also does some pretty decent damage. Plus, you get the movement speed afterwards. So you can go ahead and, you know, teleport to the side of the screen and then just run off and usually get away from the monsters. You only spec into this because you wanted to get to the last one. Shadow Step's cooldown is reduced by 3 seconds when it damages an enemy you have not hit with Shadow Step in the last 4 seconds. This is a 30% reduction in your cooldown. That's super valuable. That's the only reason we use it. It's only so that we have more opportunities to escape when we need to. It's worth the 1 point. Weapon Mastery, you're going to want to max this out on any type of rogue build just because it's flat increased damage. Obviously, swords, I would say, are the best weapons to be using. However, I've just used daggers or swords depending on what I have at any moment. I think both are great, but I would say swords are probably the best option. Then once we come down here, you're going to want to put a point into concealment. And this is your other get out of jail free card. You become stealth for 4 seconds, and you also are unstoppable, allowing you to move through enemies, and you have increased movement. This is great whenever you encounter something like the Butcher or maybe the Assassin in the Hell Tides. You can just do this, get away from them if you don't want to attack them. They won't follow you. 4 seconds is plenty of time to get away. And this is amazing. You get 40 energy back when you pop stealth. That's 40%. That's huge. That's really nice to have. And then this ensures a critical strike, and this combos with this other ability that you heal for 3%. So anytime you're coming out of stealth, you're going to heal for 3%, which is pretty good. On top of that, this is just sort of to get to the other one. So yeah, you get a little bit of more dodge, but it's not a big deal. Mending Obscurity. While stealth, you heal for 9% maximum life per second. So 4 seconds, 4 times 9, 36%. So this is a 36% heal anytime you stealth on top of your first attack is going to be. So that's like 42%. And that's on roughly a 20-second cooldown. So that's pretty good. That can save you a lot of potions. This build is about survivability. Next, we're going to go into Dark Shroud. 1 point. The upgrades just give you a little bit more damage reduction, but I do not think it's worth sacrificing your DPS to go into this. You want to have the 10% to not be consumed just because that's a good enough chance with just 1 point. And then increased movement speed. I find increased movement speed to be super valuable. However, rolling out on amulets and boots is kind of tricky. Like right now with my current setup, I don't have that on my other rings or amulets or boots or anything. So it's nice to have that just always, because you get 5 of these things. So that's 20% movement speed when you have all of your dark shrouds. And yeah, they get popped, but it's on a fairly quick cooldown. You deal 18% increased damage to healthy and injured enemies. So healthy is anything that has more than 80% life, and injured is anything below 35% life. So if you add those two together, that's essentially 18% of more damage for 55% of the time. That's not so bad. This build is all about vulnerability. What have I said? 9% flat damage increase. It's great. Next, you want to go into Shadow Imbuement. This is just to give yourself some little bit more damage, and I just think it looks cool too. I haven't really messed with the other imbuements, but I think it could be that you might mess around with poison. I've heard poison is really good. I've seen chill, but I don't know if it seems like you would have to put a lot of points into that to make it valuable. You want to do this to have increased critical strike a chance. This just makes it so you're critting all that more often. You're healing all that more often, dealing more damage that more often. It's really great. Then we have this, which anytime your imbuement explodes, it then spreads vulnerability. This is essentially just stacking so that you're always doing vulnerability damage. It might not be entirely necessary to go this route, but this other side, we don't really do that much non-physical damage. So I just went with this because it kind of made sense. Then we're going to come down here. We don't use any ultimates. However, we do max out Innervation. So you're lucky hit up to 30% chance to gain 8 energy. So that's just anytime you lucky hit, 1/3 of the time you're going to get 8 energy. It's just kind of to give you a little bit more burst damage when you are going against like a boss or something like that. And then I find this really nice. Every 100 energy you spend grants you 15% increased lucky hit chance for 5 seconds. That's just because you're going to be using a lot of energy. And it kind of is one of those things where it's like, okay, you use this so you can get more hit chances. And then every time you get a hit chance, you get more 8 energy. So sometimes it's like your core ability just never seems to run out of energy. It's really cool. This is just to get to this next node. However, the little bit of energy regeneration is kind of nice. Haste, I think this is a great ability. While at above 50% maximum energy, gain 15% increased movement speed. So that's really nice when you're just moving about the world. And then when you're below 50% maximum energy, gain 15% increased attack speed. The nice thing about that is you get faster attack speed when you need to generate your energy. And when you're generating your energy, you're using your basic attack, which doesn't do so much damage, but it does generate combo points and it gives you more energy when you use your basic abilities. At least I believe so. Maybe it doesn't. It might just be that you just get your combo points. I thought it generated energy. That might be the other classes that I'm thinking about though. However, that's still a really good ability to have this, 15% attack speed is quite a bit. So then for your last passive, you're going to go into Victimize. Dealing direct damage to a vulnerable enemy has up to a 30% chance to cause an explosion, dealing 23% of the original damage to them and surrounding enemies. Like I said, you're always going to be attacking a vulnerable enemy, so this is just extra DPS. So those are the skills. As you can see here, I'll just scroll down real quickly in case you want to just a nice little overview. You can see we max out the basic and the core. Then we just kind of put 1 point into Shadow Step and its extra attributes, 1 point into Concealment, 1 point into Dark Shrouds and their extra imbuements. Then you're going to go to your Shadow. This I ended up maxing. Well, I didn't quite max it out, and I have earned all of my possible attribute points. If I had any extra points, I would put them there. And we just make our way down the skill tree. Okay, now we're going to be moving on to the Paragon board. I have not gotten super deep into this yet because my character is level 57 at the moment, which is my hardcore rogue. From here, you start, and I pick the one for every dexterity. I get extra, I think it's critical strike chance. Yeah. And yeah, I made my way, just basically went for damage with core skills and then extra damage. It seemed pretty good. The thing that you want to get to, though, is your second board when you can attach them. This one is called Tricks of the Trade. The legendary node is the one you're looking for. Your marksman skills grant your next cutthroat skill 25% increased damage. Your cutthroat skills grant your next marksman skill 25% increased damage. Now, if we go back to our skill tree, the main 2 skills we're going to be using are cutthroat, marksman. And since you have to alternate them anyways to generate some of your energy and spread vulnerability, that's just extra damage. 25% is a lot. So I'm going to definitely work my way up to that. I haven't unlocked it yet. But on this board, we also have really good things like you're always dealing damage to close enemies. So 25% there. Probably won't go for that. The shadow resistance is pretty useless. We'll go through there, maybe socket. 16% damage to elites is super nice. And then you could get another 16% if you max it out. I mean, there's so many nodes on this board alone. I'm going to be filling out this board for a very long time. As you can see, I'm down here, but I'm going to do this one. I'm going to do that. I'm going to get that, and that. I mean, it's going to be a while before I get another board to attach, but I think beyond that, you'll basically have an idea of how this character acts. And yeah. So now we're going to go into the gear. The gear is pretty simple. You're going to be looking for affixes that give you attack speed and increased damage or healing. Those are the main ones that I go for. I like this aspect because, there's just so many instances where you become injured, and if you're unstoppable and let's say you're crowd control, you can just get out of there really quickly. That aspect is nothing that special, but 14% damage with dual wielded weapons is really nice. That's actually a really nice chest plate with the S. The plus to life. Plus to life is super valuable, I think. I think it's slept on a lot. Yeah, lucky hit chance. Some of these aspects I would say are just sort of temporary for me right now, but I just want to go through the gear and explain what it is. For your armor, I would pretty much only ever socket rubies to get maximum life. Just makes the most sense. This aspect is the most important aspect for this build. Dealing direct damage to a vulnerable enemy has up to a 25 to 45% chance. This one is 33% chance to daze them for 2 seconds. This is super awesome because your Flurry is a crowd control that dazes and heals you. Up to here. This one's pretty nice. The increased attack speed when your core crits. And then for your weapons, you always want to add the... Are these emeralds? Yeah, they look like emeralds. And that just gives you extra damage. But as you can see, like this crossbow actually changes your damage output, even though you're using your daggers for your attacks. So you see that I've gone for plus vulnerability, plus overpower, plus critical strike, plus dexterity is great. And then execute's a pretty nice ability, I think. I probably would have gone for a different one there over execute. You could do like just plus straight up damage. But that was a really good crossbow that I found. So obviously I wanted that. This is the other aspect that you need for this build. It gives you Flurry that circles around your character. So that's really nice because then it's not just a one directional attack, but it's all around you. And then basic skills, gain attack speed. That's pretty nice. But as you can see, I'm always going for damage or stats on the attributes. I think plus life is super important. I'm always looking for that on my jewelry. And then I'm always putting armor because armor is way more valuable than any resistance to elemental damage at the moment. I think they will change this going into future seasons. We are still before season 1. We are in season 0 technically with the game launch. So right now I don't have anything that that gives me resistances. But as you can see, this is another really good aspect. Making an enemy vulnerable has up to a 36% chance to grant 3% increased critical strike chance for 3 seconds, up to 9%, so 10% more critical strike. I also like this aspect. I've had it a couple times. You heal for a certain amount of life per close enemy, up to 132 life per second. I like that one. Then plus dexterity, plus intelligence, plus dual wield damage. So basically, as you can see, all these things, I'm stacking damage and stats, critical hit strike. One aspect that I am missing is the bubble shield right now. If I was going to replace something, I would probably replace either this dark shroud one or probably this one, this smoke grenade. Because that one, it's only every 100 seconds. It's not that good. I just haven't been able to find one of the bubble aspects in a very long time. That brings us to the end of the build guide. I hope you found this enjoyable. I really enjoyed playing the rogue through the campaign and into the higher world tiers. And hopefully this character makes it to the end and I can fight Lilith at a level 100 hardcore character. However, I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. We'll see if the viability of this build continues. However, I really don't expect it to start failing me anytime soon. If it does, I'll make a comment below and let you know that maybe you have to switch at some point. But hope you enjoyed, and I'll catch you on the next video.